At exactly 3:04 a.m., when the entire mansion slept under soft gold nightlights, Adrian Malik, the billionaire known for his stone-cold discipline, froze at the kitchen doorway. His footsteps halted the moment he saw a thin, fragile girl standing on her toes at the sink, her tiny hands trembling under the weight of greasy dishes. The oversized sink light flickered above her, casting long shadows across her tired face. She wasn't supposed to be there. No one was. And yet there she stood, barefoot, exhausted, with her school uniform still on, sleeves wet, eyes swollen not just from sleeplessness, but something deeper, something she was trying desperately to hide. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity still living in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. It helps stories like this reach more hearts. Adrian recognized her instantly, nor the 13-year-old daughter of his longtime maid, Seema. He often saw her quietly slipping into corners of the mansion to complete her homework, holding books that were clearly secondhand but carefully repaired with tape. She was shy, always polite, always grateful for every small gesture. But seeing her like this, in the depth of night, drowning in chores she was never assigned, struck something inside him, something unfamiliar, something unsettling. He stayed hidden behind the archway, watching her struggle to lift a steel pot almost bigger than her torso. It slipped from her hand, clattering loudly. She flinched hard, as if expecting to be scolded or struck. That reaction alone told him this wasn't ordinary. Tears pricked his eyes before he realized it. Billionaires don't cry, he reminded himself. But in that dim kitchen, watching a child fight a silent battle, he couldn't blink away the sting. All day he had been told Noor skipped school again. Her teachers had emailed. They were concerned. She was bright, promising, capable of topping entire classes, and yet she had missed 3 days in a row. Adrian assumed it was teenage carelessness. But now he saw something else. Fatigue carved into her bones, fear hidden carefully behind her lowered gaze, and a loneliness so heavy it nearly made the room choke. When she finished, she turned slowly as if expecting someone to appear, but when no one did, she released a breath she had been holding for hours. She pressed her palms to her eyes, trying to force herself not to break. But she did, silently, shoulders shaking, breath trembling. Adrian's heart cracked like thin glass. He quietly walked back to his office, but sleep wouldn't come. He tossed and turned, replaying her face, her fear, her trembling hands. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, and by morning he was determined to uncover it. The next day he watched carefully. He observed how Noor avoided everyone, how she hid her tiredness behind polite smiles. He noticed Seema too, her back straighter than usual, her voice unusually stiff. The two avoided each other in a way mothers and daughters rarely do. A subtle distance, almost painful. They weren't fighting. They were hiding something together, something heavy. By evening, the mansion grew quiet again. And that's when Adrian found the first clue: Noor asleep on the laundry room floor, curled up beside a basket of clothes she hadn't yet finished folding. Her small body shivered in the cold. He covered her with his jacket and gently placed a pillow under her head, but the moment she felt kindness, she woke with fear, scrambling to her feet. That fear, it wasn't the fear of him. It was the fear of being caught resting. She whispered apologies like someone who had been punished for innocence before. That night he called the school himself. They confirmed what he suspected. Noor hadn't been attending because her homework stopped coming. Assignments weren't completed. No parent explanation was given. They assumed the family was going through hardship. He looked at his own reflection in the glass window, wondering how in his massive home, under his roof, the child of a woman who had served him faithfully for years was quietly drowning right before his eyes. His wealth had blinded him to a suffering happening 3 rooms away. He confronted Seema the next morning, gently but clearly. Her eyes filled instantly, but she wouldn't speak. She kept repeating, "It's nothing, sir. She's fine." But Adrian wasn't a fool. Years of business had trained him to read what people didn't say. Finally, he told her softly, "I saw her. At 3 a.m. Tell me the truth." Seema broke. She told him about her husband, how he abandoned them months ago, leaving them buried in debt. How she tried to hide it from her daughter, but Noor found out when debt collectors began visiting. How the collectors threatened to take their belongings, pressuring Seima to work double shifts. Noor, desperate to help her mother, began secretly doing extra chores in the mansion after everyone slept. She didn't want her mother fired or humiliated for falling behind on work, so she tried to do both school and hidden labor, until her small body could no longer carry the weight. She stayed awake past midnight cleaning, making sure nothing in the house was left undone. And slowly, she sacrificed school, not out of laziness but out of pure love. When he asked why she didn't tell him, Seima cried harder. Because we didn't want pity, only a chance to keep surviving. That night when Adrian saw Noor again, she was dragging a heavy laundry basket down the hall. Her knees buckled for a second. Without thinking, Adrian stepped forward and gently took the basket from her hands. She froze, embarrassed. But he didn't scold her. He didn't question her. He simply told her, "You don't need to do this." She lowered her head, tears spilling silently. "But Mama needs help. I'm not a burden. I can work. I'm strong." It was those 4 words, "I'm not a burden," that crushed him the most. What kind of world forces a child to fight so hard just to prove her worth? Adrian made a decision in that moment, quiet, firm, and irreversible. He called his financial advisor, arranged a settlement for Seima's debts, put the house in her name, and offered to sponsor Noor's education fully through university. But more importantly, he sat with Noor that night in the soft glow of the dining room chandelier and explained softly, with a kind patience she had never heard from an adult, that her value was not measured in the hours she sacrificed or the bruises on her hands. Over the weeks that followed, Noor slowly transformed. She slept through the nights, her shoulders relaxed, her eyes regained their brightness. She started school again, catching up as if she had never missed a day. Adrian began checking her homework every evening, not because he needed to, but because he cared. He became a silent guardian, a quiet protector, filling the void life had carved in her world. Seima watched with gratitude so deep it left her trembling. She never imagined a man of immense wealth would care about the smallest heart in his mansion. But Adrian had been changed too. In helping Noor, he healed parts of himself he didn't know were broken. He found joy in humanity again, something his corporate empire had long stolen from him. Months later, Noor topped her class. When she stood on the school stage receiving her certificate, she scanned the crowd, her mother crying in the front row, her teachers applauding proudly, and beside them, Adrian, clapping with a smile she would never forget. Life didn't magically become perfect. There were still struggles. There were still scars. But there was hope now, stronger than before, shining brighter than the darkness that came before it. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. It encourages us to continue sharing real, emotional stories that remind the world that kindness still exists. Before the story ends, I have one special request. Please comment, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe small acts can create big miracles. And so, in a quiet mansion where a child once washed dishes at 3 a.m., a new chapter began, one filled with dignity, education, opportunity, and the undeniable truth that sometimes all a life needs is for someone to notice and care.